when we are asked to find the inverse function of a function, if it is said that what is the inverse function of this function, what we should do, we should interchange the x and y. Now here we can see in this function y is subject. So once we interchange x and y, we can see it looks like the x is subject now. But we have to rearrange the function so that the subject is again y. And if that happens, then we get the inverse function. So if this one was function x, this one is the inverse function of that function. So I will do a few more examples. Let's say this one, we have to find the inverse function of this one. So once again we change the subject, we interchange x and y. So here 2y plus 1. Now we have to make y subject again. So what we do, we cube both sides. So this is x cube, this one is 2y plus 1. So 2y is x cube minus 1. So y is x cube over 2. So this one is the inverse function. One more, y is equal to 5x cube plus 1. So we interchange, it becomes x 5y cube plus 1, and we make the subject y again. So 5y cube is equal to x minus 1, y cube is x minus 1 over 5. So y is cubic root like that. It can be written like this as well. We know that just like that we can write as well. Now this is one way of doing it. The other way of finding an inverse function is if I start with a rather simple one. So what I did is first I interchanged x and y, and then I made the subject y again. So it was like that, and then making the subject y again. This is the inverse function. So if this is the function, this one is the inverse function. The other way of doing it is just starting from this here, and then changing the subject to x. Here the subject is y, so changing the subject to x, it becomes like that. And once we have it, then we do the interchange. So it's basically the same thing, practically the same thing. Just now we interchange x, y, so it becomes the same thing. But yeah, it's just the same thing, just when we do the so instead of getting confused or mixed up, best way to do, I would say, is first interchange x and y, and then making the subject y again, because initially y was the subject, or if it was x the subject, whatever.